Well, there's a couple of people that I want to mention quickly who are often cited as examples of these alleged parallels, and I'll just get each of you to respond to what you might think is going on here as far as any similarities at all. The first one is Alexander the Great, and we can read in Plutarch around 336 BC. He wrote that Alexander's mom dreamt that there was this thunderbolt that hit her womb. His dad had a dream that he was closing up her womb. And then the strangest thing that he saw this snake lying next to her in bed. He thought that she was having sex with some kind of higher being, that she was the consort of some kind of deity. Darrell, what strikes you as the strongest contrast one could possibly think about between this story, like the similarity and the contrast between this story and what the Bible tells us about Jesus' virgin birth?
Well, what's very interesting is the matter of detail we get about how the conception itself took place. Very vivid imagery in the case of the emperor, leaving no doubt really how this happened. No mystery to it whatsoever, really, in many ways. You contrast that to the New Testament, which is simply the announcement that the Holy Spirit will overshadow you. And that's all that's said. There's no detail to the how and the when and all that kind of stuff. Just the generic who's responsible kind of description. And that's all it is. It's a simple description without any detail. And that's in stark contrast to the vivid portrayal that you just mentioned, that is significant for a variety of reasons. Actually, I don't know if there's any symbolism attached to the snake per se, but certainly there is this vividness that is associated with how this took place to try and, I think, give it a sense of credibility. Yeah, we know exactly when and how this happened.
Mm-hmm. Joe, do you know anything about this snake theme? Because I'm about to mention Caesar Augustus, and he's got a snake theme in his origin story too.
Yeah, no, I suspect they're both different deities, though, that are associated with the snake in this case. So I'm not sure. There might be something overly significant. I would like to mention, though, that when Philip did see his wife, Alexander's father, Philip did see his wife with this snake, it says in Plutarch there that it cooled his passion for his wife.
I think it would have that effect on me, too,
I think that would be. But yeah, we see that snake theme in a couple of places, and it was just kind of a mysterious, type of thing. I'm sure there might be something out there on that, but the snake theme, like I say, it appears again with Augustus, but that's going to be the god Apollo, way than the god Zeus.
Yeah, well, let's talk about Caesar Augustus briefly. We can read about him in Suetonius, and Suetonius wrote the 12 Caesars in the early 2nd century. And there he says that Augustus' mom was at this midnight worship service for Apollo, like you said, and then this snake, according to Suetonius, it says the snake went up inside her, and then she purified herself just like she would have done after sex. And she was actually married at the time, too. But then she had a daughter before Augustus was born. So right off the bat, no virgin birth there. But in the minds of ancient people, are there any important similarities between either of these stories and Jesus' virgin birth story?
There probably were in the minds of ancient people. Everybody wanted to be associated with Alexander one way or another. Everybody, whether it be Julius Caesar earlier or Augustus, I mean, he was just a great individual in the history books. So everyone wanted to do something that way. So I'm sure there's something there, but as far as beyond that, a lot of these stories would have had, remarkable. But you mentioned Darrell mentioned the idea of virgin birth. Neither of these stories emphasize virginity at all in these cases. So that's probably another major contrast between these and in your gospel stories, which emphasize that notion.
And as Mikel noted, in the one case, we know we are definitely not dealing with a virgin birth.
Yeah.
So, the emphasis on the condition of Mary during the birth is tied, of course, to the Isaiah passage and the idea that there's a promise of this unusual, I'll say it this way, it's in the story as it's developed in the infancy material, there is this sense of there's something unusual and supernatural about this birth. And I think to that extent, it may share the backdrop of these other stories. But of course, the point here is that this isn't just a way of portraying the Son of God. It's a way of saying this is the Son of God. And then in that full sense that we talked about earlier, this is not someone making it in the pantheon with the back seat on the back row. This is someone who goes directly to the right hand of God. And so that's a significant difference in terms of the way the New Testament ends up portraying the role of what this represents ultimately.
But the very idea that the virgin birth of Jesus was just a direct copy from some pagan story is dead in the water when you start taking a look at the actual texts that are supposedly copied off of nothing at all like what we see in the Bible. Like Darrell said, a very, very simple description in the Bible. The Holy Spirit will come on you and you will be with child. And then Mary says, "Let it be unto me," just like you said. And you see this great, really of the model disciple, I would say, that we can all learn from, and how whatever comes, we just say, may God's will be done.